Welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and tonight I'm joined once again by Colin Watt and Laura Bradburn to have a look at the first half performance against Aberdeen. Colin, I'll come to you first and foremost. It looked as though we were on easy street for 30-35 minutes, but we allowed Aberdeen to come back into it for a spell, didn't we, just before half-time?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's what happens when you're not taking your chances. You're letting the teams come back into it. Started off really well. Got to say, that's a fantastic strike from David Turnbull. It's the kind of thing that we were speaking about before the game, taking the shot from outside the box. And I was saying Turnbull is far more accurate with his shots. You just saw that tonight. Great one, straight past Joe Lewis, who's actually having a decent game for Aberdeen, that has to be said. But yeah, really close. Aberdeen came there with Canberry. Obviously trying to prove himself to Neil Lennon. Anyone that doesn't know the story can do a bit of looking up on that. But no, look, we're creating the chances. We've just got to start taking a couple of them. Edward was unlucky towards the end, as was Turnbull again. You get a second or a third, I think we could kill this game off.
Well, that's interesting that you mentioned Canberry, because obviously that was a flashpoint at training where players were being grabbed by throats, and obviously that resulted in a swift removal from Easter Road of the aforementioned Neil Lennon. Now, somebody said in the chat group during that first half that is it true that Ryan Christie has David Turnbull posters on his bedroom wall? Laura, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I tell you, if I was 10 years old or whatever I was when I had Simon Donnelly's posters on my wall, I think it would be David Turnbull at this point, because he's just everything you want a Celtic player to be. I think I cannot speak highly enough of him. I think he's providing something so different to anything that we've had. What I fear is going to happen in this game is what has plagued us this season, and it's just that, as Colin said, we need to take a few more of the chances that we've had. We saw what kind of danger Aberdeen can pose when they're allowed to get back into the game, and I just worry that if we don't kill the game off with a second and even a third goal, that it's going to come back to haunt us, as it has done so many times in the past.
Yeah, some great comments coming through, and Autumn Glow, not too shabby, big fan of Sorrow, but he's losing the ball a bit too often in the first half. There's also a great point being made by Eugene Ritchie. Interchange in that diamond in the first half hour was superb, pace and energy. Sorrow a wee bit suspect with the pass, and I did notice that. Colin, do you think it's just he's a wee bit rusty after being out for a few weeks?
I would say so. I think he's taking a bit of time to get up to speed with the game. Certainly towards the end of the first half there, you could see him getting more and more involved. I don't have any concern with Sorrow. I know he wasn't completely at the races, but it didn't really cost us anything. And I think he'll grow in to the game as the game goes on. The diamond in the midfield has really been it's worked really well for us over the last number of weeks that we've been playing it. And what I've found quite interesting is the player that you would probably first think would be at the head of the diamond would be someone like Ryan Christie, because it's somewhere he's played before, but he's playing in a deeper role, and Turnbull is the link-up, and the link-up play between Turnbull and the front two is outstanding at times. You see the movement, and it's given so much space to Greg Taylor going down that left-hand side. Greg Taylor's had 3 or 4 opportunities to cut the ball back, and he's missed them every single time. But the fact the interplay is getting him into that position has got to be taken as a positive. You just need that final ball.
No, you're right. It's one of the points I made myself here is our threat seems to be down the left, Colin. We're not seeing the same level of threat and creativity down the right. Laura, is that a concern for you when you look at the fact that Taylor's end product isn't the best?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just smirking to myself while you're talking there, because I'm thinking, as a woman in her 30s, I shouldn't be sitting thinking about getting Turnbull on the back of my shirt, but it's really coming that close. But no, I think we always have issues, or we have had issues multiple times. Frimpong before he left was the same. Taylor, I think, is a kind of functional enough player, but he obviously doesn't have the quality. We certainly need better delivery, but as I've said before, it actually doesn't concern me all that much, the wide delivery, because I feel that the strengths of our forwards and our creative midfielders is actually more through the middle, and I would like to see us play more through the middle. So in that way, delivery doesn't bother me as much. But obviously, in an ideal world, what you want is a wing back that can whip a ball in. And Taylor certainly needs to improve in that. I think Kenny's isn't too bad, I would say. It's certainly an improvement on Frimpong, but that wasn't difficult at the level that he was at. So, I think it's an asset to have it, but personally, my style of preferred play wouldn't require it. So it's a kind of 50-50 situation for me.
Welcome to the show, David Canavan. If anyone is on YouTube, please subscribe and ring the bell. We need this blog every day. I agree with you, David. And if you do ring the bell and you do subscribe, you might get us up to 9,500 before the game's finished tonight. Colin, Sean Keogh comes in to say Taylor is getting a bit of Kennedy all day long. Absolutely. He's hitting the byline and he's doing what we would expect to that point. And, they've been quite critical, the commentary team, Colin, about the fact that he's not been given the option. But I do feel, like Laura says, his final ball still needs a bit of work. Need the strikers to make better runs when he hits the byline, as Sean says. Turnbull is outstanding, absolutely. Now, when you look at some of the high points of this season, Colin, because we've got to try and take the positives, I think the introduction really of David Turnbull, Ismail Assoro and Stephen Welsh will be the highlight of this season. I mean, Welsh has come back into the side and he's just growing in composure, isn't he? He's growing in confidence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As you said, the three of them, they've definitely been the finds of the season. You just wonder how many are still at Lennoxtown that aren't getting that chance as well. Guys like Luke O'Connell, nowhere near the squad. But the ones that have been given the chance are really impressing. I still can't go over Tosh McKinley with the Peaky Blinders outfit, by the way. I just caught that out the corner of my eye.
I think John Hartson likes a wee Peaky Blinders look as well. I've seen him rocking the bonnet a couple of times.
It must be part of the criteria to go on the commentary team or the pundit team. But no, you're right. Those players, Stephen Welsh looks very composed on the ball, and you've seen it. I think it was just when Ayer got brought down, just before the foul was given. He looked to spread that ball, the kind of long searching ball. So he's trying to build that into his repertoire. But we're just seeing the goal again on Celtic TV. Fantastic run from Callum McGregor. Gives so much space to David Turnbull. He must be, nearly 30 yards out when he strikes that ball. It's some hit, and he keeps it low and hard. I don't think Joe Lewis sees it until late, and by that point, it's already past him. Fantastic strike.
Thanks, Gary. Yeah, I would love a wee set here, Clippers. It's getting to that point, but obviously I could always go down the Tosh McKinley route and get myself a wee Peaky Blinders cap.
I was at the stage of thinking I was going to curl my hair and just go full George Cadet tonight, but we'll need to wait and see. Need to wait and see where the hair ends up by the end of lockdown. Nearly there.
I always remember that game where Cadetti finally made his debut against Aberdeen, as it happens, 5-0 at Celtic Park. By the way, I think after that first goal, I thought to myself we could really carve them open in a similar fashion. And famously, the airwaves were blown off, weren't they, during that particular game. I've still got that tape. I've got the tape of it getting blown off the airwaves. But that night, if you'll remember, when Cadetti made his debut, Stuart Gray had grown his hair the same way. So we had two guys running about with the same hairdo. Remember that?
I don't remember Stuart Gray quite as well, but no, that was my back garden goal celebration when I played with my brother. I gave it one of them when I scored, so he was my hero.
Another player that stayed only too fleetingly. Now, this is an interesting wee message from Goodson136_A. I like to get the names in full, Colin. Turnbull defo makes you want to go back to Celtic Park. Absolutely. I mean, he's the type of player, as I said earlier, that you're looking for the kind of positives this season. There haven't been many, let's be honest. Kicking off the season, we were all getting carried away with the Adidas gear and talking about 10 in a row. It hasn't quite gone to plan. But when we're looking at the actual positives from the playing staff, Turnbull, it's just a shame that we haven't had that opportunity really to see him in the flesh, and he's not had the opportunity to turn it on in front of a full house at Celtic Park, Laura.
Yeah, I think that's what's such a shame. I was listening to the boys on 20 Minute Tims maybe about a week ago, and they were saying that exact thing. That's where you really miss the games, is not just for everything that surrounds it, but the opportunity to see a player with the ability of David Turnbull would have just had people on their feet. And the idea that you could have seen him rattle that in tonight and been roaring in the stands is something that I think we all miss. And certainly it will be one of the best factors about getting back to the games is the opportunity to see like a player like him in the flesh and in the hoops.
Oh,
It was
definitely.
quite interesting. Sorry, Paul. I don't know if anybody actually takes advantage of the additional value that you're given for your season book this year and reads the digital
Claxon.
match programme.
Additional value, Claxon.
But on the match programme tonight, it was so much about the fans aren't here, the fans aren't here, the fans aren't here. In fact, I think it's Albin Ayeti who is the kind of feature player for the interview in the programme today. And he's saying, I've loved my time here at Celtic, but I'm just missing the fact I've not got to play in front of these great fans. And you're going, this is just more PR stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, we know we're missing getting into the grounds. You don't need to tell us. We're missing it badly. We would rather be there tonight. But just put the performance on the park.
Yeah, what it comes down to, I think, Colin, and we've been banging on about the engagement from the club all season, haven't we, on a Celtic state of mind. So I'm not going to go down that route because everybody knows our feelings on it. But it does feel as though the club as a whole, the shared message is, let's make sure the fans know that a big part of this season's failure has been because they've not been in the stadium. Let's make them feel special. Let's make them realise that they need to buy their season tickets. Otherwise, we're going to have another dismal season next year. And, you know, we've heard it from the chairman. We've heard it from Neil Lennon, obviously, when he's getting interviewed, and of course the players are still sounding that same message. And by the way, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because obviously it's great to be appreciated, but it does feel as though it's a little bit contrived at times. Welshie boy can see Turnbull getting into the Scotland Euro squad at this rate. I think I'm not going to quite go down the route of saying we're in the realms of a golden generation of talent, but there does seem to be a clutch of Scottish players at this moment in time, especially when you see them on the international kind of level, and you throw in John McGinn and McTominay, who's playing out his skin for Man United, and we do have the nucleus of a right good team for Scotland, Laura. Throw Turnbull into that equation as well.
Yeah, I think, like you say, it's you don't want to get too excited about it, because for all we know, we could have another Barry Bannon on the horizon, and as good a player as he was, he never really fully lived up to his potential. So I think you're always wanting to temper things where Scotland's concerned, but like you say, we've got enough raw talent there that you would like to think that under the leadership of Steve Clarke, if he stays there for any great length of time, that we can maybe make or at least go a ways to making appearances at finals a more regular thing again. I mean, I remember being a kid and seeing us at Euro 96 and then at the World Cup in 98, and I was sort of 8 and 10 years old at the time, thinking that was the norm for us, and certainly but in the 70s and 80s it was, but you know, it quickly became apparent that wasn't a regular thing for us, and I would love it to be the case for the next generation.
No, I hope so. And a good point just before we rejoin the action from Michael the Boy. Welcome back. First job in summer is to tie up Turnbull. I think you've got to. I mean, 8 goals from midfield already. Imagine we had introduced him into the side earlier. We might have been talking about a different outcome entirely. Let's go back to the action. Thanks everybody for getting involved on Twitter, YouTube and on Facebook. And thank you Colin Watt and Laura Bradburn for joining me again on a